the school is on renovation, so they had to rent out a nearby hotel to do the interview. So every law firm partner got a hotel room, with a big bed, and you would come in and he would sit by the bed and do the interview. As if to say, are you ready to get in bed with your future? So that terrified me, really, and I started thinking, how can I prove that, I'm the one for the job? So I started going through the facts of my life, all the cool things I've done. I've sold bricks before, and I learned Chinese, and I starred in a Chinese movie, all those things. And then, after a while, I looked at my list, and I thought, you know what, all of this really doesn't make any sense. All of these things don't connect. I can't really say that this amounts to me being, a great lawyer. So I thought, okay, well, I got to do a bit better job. I have an idea, something I've never done before. I can visualize for him what my life was. I can make a visual of it so that he can just see it, or she. And I did that. I put a dot for everything that I've ever done, and I tried to connect it. And after a while, I started seeing that there are some connections, but it didn't really lead to where I thought it would. So I took this paper anyway. I took it with me, took it to the interview, and I couldn't lie. I didn't really want to spend my life at a law firm, and that was a big aha moment for me. And the bad news was I didn't get the job, but it wasn't surprising. But the good news is I realized something that I never thought of before, that unless you visualize something, once you get there, it might not look the way you thought it would be. Now, I've always known I wanted to be a lawyer. 7 years old, you ask me what do you want to be, I want to be a lawyer. Corporate law for me, yes, please. And that was the right answer. But if you ask me a little bit deeper, what do you really mean? I probably wouldn't know what to tell you, but no one asked. So, it's about connecting the dots of your life. What are the dots anyway? The dots for me were the things that I like to do. When I went to undergrad, I never thought, what should I study to make money? I thought, what am I interested in? And I did all these things that interested me, but I never really thought, how do they really connect? So now, I discovered a new career, a visualizer, right? We make infographics, we make visualizations. What does it mean to visualize something? It means to make it real. Do you believe Terminator is real? Yeah, because we've seen it. It's a movie. It's a cool movie. Try to tell me it's not real. I'll show you, right? It's on a big screen. So, but dots don't always connect so easily. When you just think about it, it might not be so apparent just how the dots connect. Let me show you what I mean. So this guy who is, he's from around here, dropped out of school. Okay, so you're doing much better because you're still in school. And then he dropped in on creative classes because actually he dropped out. He didn't have enough money to pay for tuition, but he wanted to study something cool, so he studied calligraphy. Dropped in, studied for free. He didn't have any money, so he had to couch surf and eat the free meals at the Hare Krishna temple. Doesn't look so good, does it? How do you connect all of this? Any guesses who that might be?
Steve Jobs.
Good job. Now, how do the dots connect? He talked about the dots connecting, right? He said you can connect them backward, but you can't connect them forward. Today we're going to try to connect them forward for you. Because you're here now, and you have a long, bright future ahead. And you probably want to know, how do the dots connect? Well, here, I'm just here to show one tool that you can use to connect the dots. Another guy dropped out of Harvard to start a startup. But guess what? Next thing is he works 16-hour days for 5 years. Wow, you don't feel so good about that probably, right? You might as well be flipping burgers, working that many hours. That's Bill Gates. Another guy you might know was sick in bed at 5 years old, and he saw a compass for the first time. His father showed it to him. And he thought, wow, how does this thing work? And he asked his father. His father knew a little bit about electricity. And his father gave him an explanation, it's the Earth's magnetic field. And he said, no. He said, how does it really work? And that question led him on a much bigger quest. And he also dropped out of school for a little bit. And at 16, he was riding his bike around rural Italy, and he did what he called a thought experiment. A thought experiment? You mean daydreaming? Or what? He imagined how he was riding along a beam of light. And that led him to discover a much bigger theory that you've all heard of. Now, what do we mean by visualizing something? Imagine all information in your life is like this huge mountain of information. And the more into the future we go, the more information there will be, right? The future holds mountains of information and few people to make sense of it. But visualization gives you a way to kind of go up on a balloon, like go up and look at this mountain and see some patterns. See, if you will, how the dots connect. So how do they connect? I have 3 simple rules that I use in my job as a visualizer. What kind of dots do we connect? You know, businesses come to us, they want to see how do they explain what they're doing. People come trying to, visualize how what they do can be done. Before you can visualize something in your head, arguably, you can't really do it, right? Once you have a visual, you can do it. Once you have a visual, you can understand. Now, a lot of things we talk about, actually about half of the English dictionary, is abstract words. Abstract, like love. If I tell you I love you many times, after a while, you're going to want a visualization of it, like, I don't know, at least a gift or something. How about finance? Visualize finance for me. What does that look like? Are you thinking of money? That's not finance though, right? That's money. Are you thinking of a rich guy? No, that's a guy who has finances in good shape. That's not finance, right? What about levitation? Yeah, that's why we're going to listen to this other speaker who's going to come here. So when you're up on this balloon, looking at this mountain, it's hard to make sense of. In fact, I'll tell you honestly, if you come to me with your mountain of information, and people usually do, they'll say, we'll just send in one spreadsheet. No, it's usually 10. Okay? It's usually 10 spreadsheets that you have to make sense of, or more. And when you're looking at this mountain, you're not going to see the connections right away. You're just not. It takes iterations, right? Now, I don't want it to be that way. I just want to see where everything connects right away. But for some reason, there's something that it's almost required that you make mistakes. Let me give you an example. So I work with a software architect, right? And a lot of the time I say, okay, can you please build this feature fast, okay? I can visualize it. I visualize it for him. I just, show a visual. Can you please, okay, 2 days later, he says, I figured out 5 ways it would not work. I said, what do you mean? Like, where's the feature? She says, I think, I've worked for 5 days. These are the ways it will not work. And, for a long time, it mystified me. What do you mean you're going to show me how it's not going to work? I want you to show me how it is going to work. And then I remembered that it's the same thing in law, so I drew a parallel. You actually do get, in law school, you get bonus points for showing which ways do not work. Now, that is how the mind works when I visualize too. Basically, to get to the right answer, you have to go through some wrong answers just to see that they don't connect. I don't know why you have to visualize it to make that connection, but almost every time, we almost never do the visualization in one iteration. Almost never you sit down, with the mountain of information and just draw the connections where they should go. You have to draw them where they shouldn't to see where they should. Okay, so 3 simple rules of visualization. 1, you have to put down the dots. What are the dots? Life experiences, facts, whatever you need to connect. You have to do it even though it might be mistaken, you might be unsure if these are the right dots at all, but you have to put it down because unless you do, there's nothing to connect, right? Second rule is everything does connect. Now here, at first, it's a leap of faith. Sometimes it's really confusing. It's confusing how the two things could possibly connect, like here, in the lives of these people. So you have to assume it, and I can tell you from experience that most of the time they do connect, but again, you have to go through your own connections to get to the right one. The third rule is that the dots connect in the simplest and shortest way, such as if you're going from A to B, you don't need a C. You don't need to do more connections to find one. Okay, so why don't we just try it? I want to show you 5 simple ways to visualize anything in your life, or anything at all. But let's start with life. So why don't we right now draw point A, just make a dot, point A. This is where you are right now, in this chair, at this talk, here and now. And point B is where you want to be. Point B is where you want to be. And then a connection between the two. That is the simplest visualization, right? So point A and point B. And now, right now you're just thinking what A is and what B is, right? It's all very abstract, just a concept. Okay. The next level of visualization would be to put symbols on top of this. So we call them icons, right? Glyphons, like here, like in these visualizations I showed you. So think of a symbol for your point A and point B. If you can draw it really fast. It's a good symbol. Symbols are simple. Okay, so now we're at the second level. The next level would be, and some of you can do it fast, and for others it'll take longer, takes me longer, is to illustrate. What does it mean to illustrate? It means to literally draw what you want at point B and where you are at point A. So the next level up would be to make those illustrations move. So basically animate them, right? You can even do like screenshots, think in screenshots, screen frames. Okay, and after that, after you made that animation, you could even make it a cartoon or a movie, right? And then, let's say somebody says, what you told me your goal is, or whatever you imagine you're going to be, that's not real. You can't say that, because look, you can show it now. You have it on paper, right? So visualization is a way to project reality into the future. Now, it's kind of mystifying why we haven't really taught it in schools and really haven't thought about visualizations and infographics much before. But it really is just a simple way to create your own reality within the realities that you are living. So when you think of infographics, it's just a combination of information and graphics. And whatever information you want to happen in the future, basically information is also our dreams and goals and aspirations, we can combine and make a really powerful representation of what we want our life to be. So visualizing your life as a timeline. A timeline is something that shows the sequence, right? It is a little bit abstract, but you can think of a timeline as a road. Like you walk down the road and there's a 1, 2, 3, like first mile, third mile, first, second, third. There's a sequence. So with a lot of visualizations, with a lot of understanding concepts, we're talking about understanding how do things happen, in what order. And our life is a lot like that. So if I was, when I was 7, if I imagined the road to becoming what I wanted to be, and I thought it was a lawyer, then I would make step 1, step 2, step 3. I could put icons, I could put illustrations. I could really see this in my head, but I didn't. So sometimes, yes, it takes, coming to that experience, to actually living it and visualizing it in real life to see what you really wanted. But you don't have to do that. You could project it into the future by using a visualization, by using a timeline of your life. And that way, you don't have to experience it in the real world unless you want to. You don't really have to get there unless that is exactly what you wanted. So, I leave this message with you that you can project and you can connect the dots forward using a visualization, and starting as simply as connecting dots and lines. Thank you so much.